to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another special message from the Ancient Ones. My name is Dr. Mumbi. How you doing? How's everything going? We are in such a special season, beloveds, and we're in a season where we can break free from the collective, because the prison has been the collective. The prison has been this global mind, this global think, this global, mental reality, because we are spiritual beings having a human experience, which means our experience is created and formed mentally and spiritually first before it manifests as a living, breathing, physical experience. And that the whole thing that, before we could decide, we are the gods of our own, of our own experience. We could decide what we wanted to experience, which is why we came here, to experience the wonders and the creative magnificence, beloveds. And there were many other things to do the great work, because this, where we are, this plane is extremely special. But those are definitely stories I'll get into in the future. But when part of the Babylon invasion meant taking all of us out of our individual creative reality powers or creative realities and creating this group think, which they then manipulated and controlled. That's why there's been so much effort by Babylon to put everything outside of ourselves. That's why they started by putting God outside of yourself, immediately just disempowering you and disinheriting you, and then everything else that you did as a god for yourself. You healed yourself, you created your reality, you fed yourself. Some fed on pure breath, ether. You dictated your experience. They took all of that from you. And and it's like they lowered us so quickly. Our vibration, if I can put it like that, was lowered to the densest form, from creator gods to literally slave mentalities. And it's these slave mentalities that they now use to create this group think, which became the prison planet. Because the group mind, beloveds, is the prison on this planet. And that's what all of us are trying to escape. Because you see, when you're all gods creating a reality, before you could create your reality, you created the reality for your nation, your kingdom, your community. But when we're all online globally, where my energy will be pulled to an earthquake in Haiti, or I'll know about Australia and their mice plague, or, and my energy is everywhere. So we're all on this group think. But who is directing that think? Who is directing that narrative? We contribute our power without contributing our brilliance, beloveds. And that's been the greatest trick of all. But now, the special ones, the special ancient ones, I love that I call them special ancient ones, but it is time. They are calling for us now to disconnect ourselves from the groupthink, because now that groupthink no longer has the power or the hold over us. You see, before, they had brought the vibration of the planet so low that literally, no matter how brilliant, whether you're a master, whether you're an ascended one, whether you're, which means you literally graduated from this world and came back to assist, whether, you're whatever you were, beloveds. Because, there's so many spiritual beings here in this physical form. So it's not just what we see physically. There's so much more diversity than we could ever imagine. But we were so low, so we could be controlled, because that was the group thought. But now we have help from outside, above, below, wherever you want to put it. But the vibration is being forced to rise with the heat, with the sun. The sun is a big reflection of what is happening right now. And with the vibration rising and the cleansing that we're seeing, with all the floods that happened in Europe, and then the heat waves, and then everything that's happening, beloveds, All of this is now, releasing us from the group think, because the group think is down here, which means if you lower your thoughts, you become part of this reality. But if you keep yourself elevated and you refuse to fall for any and all deception, and you continuously work on, activating your spiritual life, making your spiritual life more real or as real as your physical life, then you'll find that the group think doesn't have power over you anymore. And you see, the way the group think has power over you is you find yourself doing what all the sheeple are doing. So if everyone decides to drink poison, you, even against your own better judgment, will drink the same. If everyone decides to live in this fear and this is the world and oh my God, this is going wrong and that is going wrong and you are in the group thought, that will affect you. That will affect your vibe. That will affect your, your environment. And that's how we get trapped in Babylon, beloveds, through the mind. They can't keep us physically. And you see, they make us they've distorted death so much. When so many of our spiritual beings, I know as recent as my grandmother, she knew when she was going. And even before that, she gave instructions 6 months out of what needed to happen. And she knew who would see her in the final days and who wouldn't, because several of us were living abroad, stories for other days. But usually our ancestors, when they were done, they'd sleep. And they'd literally say goodbye to their family members. And then in those days, as their spirit left their body, they would leave like so many gifts. Anyway, this is not even about death. And, if you would want to hear something on this, definitely leave it in the comments below. I'm not going to get too carried away. But so much has been distorted that like we take this physical too seriously when this physical is a vehicle. And so now we're free from that group think, beloveds. If we think higher, if you make yourself an elevated higher man or higher woman being, that reality can't hold you anymore. It's like, really? You guys are believing that? But prepare to be lonely. Prepare to be isolated from that group thing, because they made it very addictive, right? You want to be part of it, you want to be part of the crew, the community, you want to feel Kenyan or Nigerian. You want to take on those identities, and you've latched on like badges, when they're just badges, beloveds. They're not any kind of spiritual, they don't have any kind of spiritual signature, but they will pull you into the vibration that they exist in, which is very low. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back, beloveds, to a special message from the Ancient Ones. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? Free at last, beloveds. Free at last. And if you have been doing the work, if you have moved out of the cities, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Where the group think is no longer having such a hold on you. It's not so much to be anti-system and anti-establishment and know what the truth is and be a truther. But it's like, how do you disengage? Because the Babylon system has created so many tentacles, from our family members who are ignorant to, those karmic friendships that we keep around, just all these negative things, to the rules of the government and all these things we have to follow, from having to be employed outside of yourself to sustain yourself. When you start to disengage from that no longer has a hold on you. And it will reach a point, like right now, that world almost looks alien to me. I really struggle to communicate with people who are still talking about the things of the Babylon reality, beloveds, because I'm waiting on next. I'm preparing myself for next, so that I can be my highest woman being when next comes. And finally I can be free, because I don't know if you know what I mean, where you always had like that fear, that uneasiness, and the pressure of Babylon this, Babylon that, where even your Babylon parents had such a hold on you, and the Babylon system, and the ways that you were told you had to be and what you had to do. And many of us have been fighting that since birth, because many of us are the black sheep of the family. But we could never escape it. Like, we could never escape our families, because our mind was intertwined there, and the majority ruled. You see, what's happened is that we've moved from where the majority group think rules, to the highest man being and the highest woman being vibes supersede that, and they will rule soon. They will override that. They are overriding that. If we overstood our power properly, we'd be overriding every move the Babylon was making in these final days. But there are certain ignorant people that must go. It's painful to say, and that's why we really must prepare ourselves emotionally. And there's always an opportunity for people to change their minds. But that's what's happened now, is that the higher the higher you are, that's what has taken authority. So it's no longer about the group. Even if, you see, before, Babylon created this reality where the group think is what controlled everyone. And they killed the outliers. They killed the ones who believed in something alternative. They diminished them. They victimized them. They shattered them in front of their, community. They broke them in front of their communities, in front of their families, in front of their peers, just to shatter that group think, to shatter that group consciousness. But we are no longer victims to our group consciousness, beloveds, because we're back as the gods of our reality, the gods of our experience. And so what they think no longer has any hold on me, because I know who I am. And that is the primary responsibility that you have right now, is to know who you are. To absolutely know who you are without a shadow of a doubt. And the more you know and stand in that, the more you will just recognize that everything that the Babylon system keeps you worried about doesn't really matter in the end. Like, it really doesn't, beloveds. It really, really doesn't. But we're free. Like, we could never escape that before. It had such a hold on us because we were down in hell with everybody else. But now, as we rise to the heavens, and all of this is just mental. Hell is a mental state of being. Heaven is a mental state of being. As we elevate our thoughts, beloveds, we're finally free from the low vibing reality of this time. And there will be a separation. I don't know what that separation will look like. Some say the rapture is the ascension. There's so many theories out there. But all I know is that the ancient ones just want us to rest assured that we're finally free of the group consciousness of this world, which means nothing that is that narrative can hold us anymore. Nothing that is that story. If we totally disconnect, we're above it, beloveds. Be above the Babylon system. That's power. That's what you should be aiming for. And you do that by disconnecting from Babylon, mentally and spiritually and heart first. Tuko pamoja.